What would you do? If destiny itself was placed in your hands, sealed inside a vessel you could not open, until the appointed time, would you wait? Would you resist the pull of curiosity? Or would impatience whisper louder than wisdom, and drive you to break the one command you were given? Beware, for a man who cannot guard the trust he is given, cannot be trusted with the crown of leadership. This is the story of the king and his calabash of truth. A story of pride, a story of cunning, a story of patience, and a story of destiny. Long ago, in the heart of Africa, there lay a kingdom called Nsubira, known far and wide as the land of abundance. From the high ridges of its mountains, rivers of gold trickled into the valleys. The fields bowed heavy with millet, sorghum, and maize. The forests echoed with the songs of birds, and the cattle herds spread like moving clouds across the plains. The people of Nsubira lived in plenty. They traded their grains for salt, their cloth for ivory, their gold for spices carried from across the seas. But what made Nsubira truly great was not its wealth, nor its armies, nor its reach across the trade routes. It was its king, King Oba Adiwale, a man of wisdom, a man of strength, a man of vision. For 40 years he had sat upon the lion throne of Nsubira. He judged fairly. He listened with patience. He was slow to anger, but swift to defend his people. When the widow wept, he answered her cry. When the orphan was wronged, he became their shield. When the elders spoke, he bowed his ear to their counsel. The people said, "Our king is like the baobab tree. His shade covers us all." But even the tallest tree, though it may stand for centuries, knows that one day, its branches will no longer reach the skies. The king was growing old. His silver beard fell long upon his chest. His eyes, though still sharp, carried the weight of years and battles fought. And a shadow troubled his heart. For though he had ruled with wisdom, one question remained unanswered. Who would rule after him? The king had 3 sons, 3 princes who carried his blood, but not all carried his spirit. They were strong, they were learned, they were eager to rule. But the king knew, a crown is heavier than gold. It is not worn upon the head, but upon the soul. Not every man who desires it is worthy of it. And so, in the quiet of the night, the king devised a test. Not a test of strength, not a test of wealth, not even a test of cleverness, but a test of truth. For truth is the foundation of leadership. Without it, kingdoms fall. With it, kingdoms endure. The king called for the royal carvers, men whose hands shaped wood, as the Creator shaped clay. "Bring me 3 calabashes," the king commanded. Each hollowed, each polished, each sealed with wax and resin. Upon one, carve the lion, symbol of courage. Upon another, carve the eagle, symbol of vision. Upon the last, carve the tortoise, symbol of wisdom. And when you are done, bring them before me in secret. The carvers worked by moonlight. Their knives glided over the gourds, their hands patient and steady. They polished them until they gleamed. They sealed them until not even a drop of air could escape. And upon each, they carved the sacred symbols of kingship. When they were finished, the king himself placed within each one a secret. What lay inside, no man knew, not even the carvers, only the king. At dawn, as the sun painted the skies in gold and crimson, the king summoned his sons to the great hall of judgment. The palace grounds stirred with whispers. Messengers ran through the streets. The people pressed against the gates. "Why has the king called his sons?" they murmured. "Has he chosen the next ruler? Will he place the crown today?" Inside the hall, the air was heavy with expectation. The princes stood tall, the eldest with a chest like a lion, the second with eyes sharp as an eagle, the youngest with a face gentle as the morning sun, each clothed in silken robes, each carrying the weight of destiny upon his shoulders. The king rose from his throne. His lion-headed staff gleamed in the light of the torches. His voice rolled through the chamber like thunder. "My sons," he declared, The time has come for you to prove yourselves. Not with the sword, not with the plow, but with patience, with obedience, with truth. He signaled. The guards stepped forward, bearing the calabashes upon velvet cloth. Gasps rippled through the hall. The gourds glistened like treasures, their carvings shining with oil. The king spoke again. To each of you, I give a calabash. What lies within? You shall not know, not today, not tomorrow, but in 1 month. You shall return it to me, unopened, untouched, unbroken. For he who can carry truth faithfully, without impatience, without deceit, shall be the one to inherit my throne. The princes stared. The eldest clenched his jaw. The second narrowed his eyes. The youngest bowed his head in reverence. The king's voice grew stern. Mark this well. The calabash is not yours. It belongs to truth. And truth does not reveal itself to the greedy, nor to the disobedient. Choose wisely. The eldest prince, Adiro, lifted his calabash with pride, as though the throne already rested in his hands. The second prince, Baraka, turned his calabash in the light, his mind already racing with possibilities. The youngest prince, Chaik, held his calabash gently, as though cradling the soul of his father's command. The people outside strained to hear, their whispers rising like wind in the trees. And so began the test of truth, a test that would divide brothers, reveal hearts, and determine the fate of a kingdom. Prince Adiro was 30 years old, tall, muscular, his jaw square, his eyes fierce. He was strong, and the people admired him. But his pride was greater than his strength. Prince Baraka was 27, slender, sharp-featured, his eyes sly and restless. The people called him the eagle, for his gaze missed nothing. But his cleverness was laced with cunning, and his hunger for advantage was greater than his hunger for truth. Prince Chaik was 23, gentle, lean, his eyes soft, his smile kind. He listened more than he spoke, and when he spoke, his words carried peace. He was not the strongest, he was not the cleverest, but his heart was steady, rooted like the baobab tree. The days passed. Adiro paraded his calabash, boasting before guards and servants. Surely this proves I am chosen, he declared. Baraka studied his in secret, tapping it, shaking it, pressing it against the firelight. What lies within you? He whispered. And Chaik carried his quietly, placing it by his bed, praying over it, treating it as sacred trust. One night by the fire, the brothers quarreled. Adiro scoffed. This is foolishness. Why should we wait? Baraka smirked. Perhaps father wants us to open it. Perhaps courage is the test. Chaik shook his head. Father's words were clear. Truth reveals itself only in its time. Adiro laughed. You sound like a priest. Baraka mocked. Perhaps too much of a fool to be king. But Chaik held his peace. The whispers spread. The people took sides. Some said Adiro was destined. Some said Baraka was wise. But a quiet few began to whisper of Chaik. The king heard the whispers. But he waited. For actions, not words, reveal the heart. As the final week came, the princes reached their breaking points. Adiro broke his calabash in fury. Inside lay the stone of truth. He cast it aside as worthless. And with it, he cast away his destiny. Baraka broke his in secret. Inside lay a parchment. He who breaks his father's word has already broken his crown. It turned to ash in his hands, and his cunning crumbled with it. Only Chaik remained. He kept his calabash sealed, despite the mockery. And on the eve of judgment, he prayed beneath the baobab tree. Father, I will honor your word, even if it costs me the crown. At last, the month was done. The great hall filled with people. The king sat upon his throne. The princes stood before him. Adiro's broken calabash condemned him. Baraka's revealed his deceit. But Chaik's untouched, unbroken, was placed before the king. The king himself broke the seal, and inside lay the crown of Nsubara, gleaming with sacred gems. The people roared, the drums thundered, the horns blared. All hail Chike, son of truth, king of tomorrow. The king lifted his staff. He turned to his sons. Adiro, you despised truth, and truth despised you. Baraka, you schemed in secret, but truth saw in the dark. And Chike, you obeyed, you honored my word, and truth has crowned you. He placed the crown upon Chike's head. The people rejoiced, but Chike bowed and said, Father, truth does not belong to me alone. It belongs to us all. If I am to rule, let me rule as a servant of truth. The king's eyes shone. You have spoken like a true king. And so, dear listener, when truth is placed in your hands, will you keep it faithfully, or will you cast it aside for pride or gain? Remember, a crown may dazzle the eyes, but only truth can carry its weight. If this story has touched your heart, then do not let it end here. Share this tale, carry its wisdom, and join us again under the great tree of stories. For many more lessons await. Subscribe now to the Story Baobab, the root of wisdom. For here, every tale is a seed, planted deep in the soil of your heart, to grow into wisdom for tomorrow.